So yesterday we talked about adding integers. Today we're talking about subtracting integers, okay? Which really, there's only one difference. That's sometimes hard to remember, but we can do it. So we have 3. Well, that does not look like a 3. All right, let's try it again. 3 minus 8, okay? So, positive number, it tells us to go to the right on the number line. Negative tells us to go to left. And we start at 0. That is a review from yesterday. So, if I look at that, that 3 is positive and the 8 is negative. Okay. So I have a number line here. And here we go. Okay. So I'm going to start at 0. 3 is positive, so I go to the right 3 places. 1, 2, 3. And then 8 is negative, so I go to the left 8 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I end up on -5. Or I could remember that different signs mean difference. So I need to find the difference of 8 and 3. So I subtract big number minus a smaller number equals 5. I look at both of these as if they were positive numbers. 8 is larger and is negative, so my 5 is negative. Okay? Second problem is -4 minus 2. So, I'm going to draw a number line here. Here we go. All right. So -4 is negative, so we start at 0 and we go over 4 places. 1, 2, 3, 4. -2, we also would count left 2 places because it's negative. So from -4, we count left 2 more places. 1, 2, and we end up with -6. Or we can remember that if we have the same sign, we add them, and we get 6. And then we look at both of these as if they were positives. 4 is the bigger number, and there's a negative sign in front of it, so it is -6. Okay, here's where the difference comes. Okay? And it's called adding the opposite. Anytime it says add the opposite, it means you have a negative and then another -2. Anytime you have a negative parentheses and a negative number, it equals whatever number's in the parentheses but positive. Okay? Because that is like multiplying -1 times -2, which we're going to learn about tomorrow. But when you multiply 2 negatives together, you get a positive. So that is how they get this. Okay, it comes from that. So if you have a -3, your answer is 3. If you have a -101, that becomes 101. So let's look at a problem. 2 minus a -3. Okay. So we have a negative, parentheses, negative. We can make those positives, just like we did here. Okay, these would be positives. These would be positives. And now we have 2 plus 3 equals 5. If we had -9 minus a -2, you have a negative, parentheses, negative, which means we can change both of those negatives to positives. Notice how we don't change the -9. Only the negatives that are sandwiching that parentheses. Then we have different signs. Different is difference, so we subtract 9 minus 2 and get 7. Then we look at both of these as if they were positive numbers. 9 is bigger, and there's a negative sign in front of the 9, so our answer is -7. If we have 5 minus 9, this is a positive 5, this is a -9. Different signs, so different signs means difference. 9 minus 5 equals 4. Then we have to look at both of them as if they were positive. 9 is bigger, and it has a negative sign, so it is -4. Now we have -4 minus 3. Since there are no parentheses, we don't change any of the negative signs. Only when the negatives are sandwiching a parentheses sign. So these just have the same sign. So we add 4 plus 3 and get 7. We look at both of these as positive numbers. 4 is bigger, and it has a negative sign. So our answer is -7. Now we're going to evaluate. And evaluate, remember, is where you're given letters and you have to put numbers in for them, or variables, and you have to put constants in for them. So we are going to evaluate the following. A minus B, and it tells us that A equals -6. What the heck? I don't know what's happening. That A equals -6 and B equals 7. Okay? So, and for A, we're going to put -6. Whenever we substitute a number for a variable, we put it in parentheses. We're going to bring down the minus sign, and then for B, we're going to put 7. Okay. That negative sign is saying that that 7 is negative. Okay? Because that doesn't have another negative sign to sandwich the parentheses, we can say this means -6 minus 7. Same signs mean to add. So we take 6 plus 7 and get 13. The 7 is the bigger number if you're looking at them as both positives. And the 7 has a negative sign, so it's -13. Then let's do that same exact problem if A equaled 14 and B equaled -9. So, and for A, we're going to put 14, bring our minus sign down, and then in for B, we're going to put -9. Now, those negatives are sandwiching the parentheses, so we can make them plus signs. So now we just have 14 plus 9, just a normal problem, and we get 23 for an answer. We have one more. It is a temperature application. Find the difference between 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's really, really, really warm. And -250 degrees Fahrenheit, which is really, 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 really cold. Okay? So, difference means to subtract, right? So I have this number and I have this number, and I want to find the difference. So between those, I need to put a minus sign. So I have 3,000 minus a -250. Now, those negative signs sandwich the parentheses, so I can change them. And now I have 3,000 plus 250, and I get 3,250. If you want to be done, you can. If you would like to keep looking at this stuff, we're going to keep doing a few problems. Next one, difference between 32 degrees and negative 10 degrees. So my 32 and my 10, negative 10, are going to be in parentheses, and I'm finding the difference of these two numbers, so difference means to subtract. So I'm going to put a minus sign between the two of them. Then my negatives are sandwiching my parentheses, so I change them to positives. 32 plus 10 is 42 degrees. All right? Let's do some normal questions now. Negative 2 minus a negative 4. My negatives are sandwiching, so I can add. And now I have different signs. Different signs means to subtract. So 4 minus 2 equals 2. If I look at both of these as if they were positives, 4 is bigger, and it's positive, so my answer is positive. Let's look at x minus y. If x equals negative 3 and y equals positive 2. Oh, man. Okay? So, we're going to put negative 3 in for x in parentheses, minus, and then put 2 in parentheses. Remember, since that parentheses isn't being sandwiched by negatives, we can look at that as negative 3 minus 2. They have the same sign, so we add. Oops, I almost gave you the answer. We add 3 plus 2, and we get 5. However, now we need to look at both of these numbers as if they were positive. 3 is bigger, and there's a negative sign, so it is negative 5 for an answer. Or let's look at x minus y. If x equaled 4 and y equaled negative 6. So, put 4 in for x, minus negative 6 in for y. That parentheses is being sandwiched by negatives, so I change them to positives. Now I just have 4 plus 6, and I can just know that, solve that, and it's 10. Should be fairly simple. All right. Just remember the main thing. If they're sandwiched, you can change them. If they're not sandwiched, these like this just means negative 7 minus 4. You can't change them. The same sign, you add them. You get 11. Looking at both of those as positive numbers, 7 is bigger and it has a negative, so it's negative 11. Okay? No sandwiching, no changing. This one, however, is sandwiched, so you can change both of those to positives. Different signs, difference, subtract 5 minus 3, and we get 2. Look at both of those as positives. 5 is bigger and it's positive, so our answer is positive 2. So, work on the numbers that are on Canvas and see how you do.